Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds and welcome to Ask the Cheeseman. This is episode 258. Thank you for joining me today. There are so many of you in the chat, which is great. Lovely to see. Well, first things first, of course. Thank you to all the financial members who support the show, both via YouTube memberships, and special mention to Donna Barr. Thank you, Donna, for renewing your membership on YouTube. And of course, we couldn't go without saying g'day to all of the patrons who also support the show financially. Thank you, one and all, past and present. So keep the lights on, which is great. Thank you so much. Okay, so some of the things that are going on this week. So I've just finished editing a whole swag. So I've done the first 7 days worth of Cheese a Day challenge, and they're all queued up, so that'll be good fun. My new editor, Ben, who's my son, is editing the Gavin Reacts number 3. So he's been learning the process on what I do and how I do it. So he's editing that. That should be ready for release sometime during the week, so that'll be good fun. And I've still got 3 other cheeses that are being edited. So Jack in the Box, Triple Cream, and what's the other one? Tassie Devil, which is a Tasmanian mountain peppercorn cheese. So that'll be really interesting as well. At 30 minutes past the hour, we will have the cheese gallery. We've got a couple of submissions there, which is great. And we got some jokes as well, cheesy jokes, which should be good fun. Don't forget that if you want to ask a pressing question and the chat starts to get out of control, then you can always do a super chat and the curd nerd light will start flashing and I'll get to your question as a priority. So that'll happen automatically. I only have to turn it off manually, so that's good fun. Alrighty, let's say good day to a few people. So, way back when, who was the first person? Shauna. G'day, Shauna. Lovely to see you, as always. Marie. Hello, Marie, up there in sunny Queensland. Cindy. G'day, Cindy, in northern Idaho. We got Tony in the UK, and we've also got Michael in Adelaide. Michael and Jenny in Adelaide. G'day to both of you. Oh, I got your cheese suggestion, too. I'm going to try and hunt that down. Where is it? You said it was from Woolies, so I'll go and check that. Michael sent me in a suggestion for one of the Cheese a Day challenge. I haven't purchased all the cheese because I want to keep it as fresh as I can. So he suggested it's a peppered Havarti from New Zealand, so that'll be interesting. That'll be good. Also, g'day to... Who have I missed? So many people. John, g'day John, who's in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Midwesterner, g'day, how are you? From Missouri. And Gooseberry Hollow in Canada somewhere, where it's freezing frickin' cold. Who else? We got Bill, we got Colin, what's that? All out of spoons. That's a mouthful. I'll just call you Spoons. How's that sound? That's cool. What else we got? Who else we got? Katarina, g'day, how are you? Lovely to see you. Gooseberry Hollow's in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Same place Patricia's from, who is a regular viewer of the show. Probably not so much today. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we got a lot of people. What have we got on the poll? So the poll, can I show the poll? I don't think I can. In the chat, there's a poll that says, are you enjoying the Cheese a Day challenge videos? There are many, many more to come. We've got 94% that have said, yes, they are enjoying it. Some of you those who are members would have seen 2 episodes already. But those who aren't would only have seen one on the channel. The format's nice and simple, easy to edit, easy to produce, which is why I can pump out 28 of them this month, plus on the 1st of March there'll be a wrap-up. So there will be a day 29, which will do the top 10, top 5 and the bottom 5. So that'll be good fun. Anyway, I'll just end the poll now. End the poll. End the poll. So thank you very much for all of those who voted. That's wonderful. We got some questions flooding in, which is great. Let me just have a look. First question that I can see, that I can actually put up on the screen, is from John. Says, can you make cheddar without a cool place? I am in a level 1 house, a 1-level house. Yeah, definitely. So you can convert a cheese fridge, normal dorm fridge or a normal stand-up fridge. Let me just, can I find, I did a little post on it on Little Green Cheese, which is my cheese making blog. I'll just bring that up in a sec, and I can send you the link so you get a general idea on what we can do here. Here we go. Let me just bring that up. So on Little Green Cheese, which is my blog, where I dabble in the written word, cheese making at home with Gavin Weber, the Cheeseman. So on this post here in particular, how to make a cheese fridge, I'll just copy that into the chat, and you can go and check that out. There is a conversion process for, this is just a normal dorm fridge, and you can use a tool called an Inkbird ITC 308, which you simply plug your fridge into in the cooling part, set the temperature for about 13 Celsius, and that keeps your cheese nice and cool at the right temperature for cheese making. So yeah, that's very cool. Great question though. Thanks for asking. The next question is from Tony and says, does it age quicker at higher temps? Look, it can, but what we want is the lactic bacteria to produce their lactose slowly, so we don't get a massive build-up or breakdown of the proteins too quickly, which causes bitterness in the final cheese. So the at about 13 degrees Celsius or 55 Fahrenheit is spot on for long aging cheese. So that's the best temperature. If it's any higher, then the cheese tends to get hang on, I need a sip of coffee. It tends to bring on flavours that are unwanted. That's what I'm trying to say. Thanks, Tony, for your question. And as Bill says there, bacteria and moulds do their magic on cheese in a fairly narrow temperature range. Indeed, they do. Gooseberry Hollow, g'day mate, how are you? Have to thank Gavin for getting me interested in cheese making again. Stopped in 2017 due to medical issues, but better now, back to making fromage. Thanks, Gavin, mate. Thank you so much for popping back in again. And luckily, I'm still going, which is a good thing. So yeah, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. Joining, having a break from cheese making, then coming back in again. It's always good fun. Hope you're all good and all is well. All Out of Spoons says, can anybody tell me if it's possible to shred freshly made mozzarella cheese? Okay, so mozzarella, the normal buffalo mozzarella, it's very hard to shred. So buffalo mozzarella is it's fresh, it's just sliced and put onto pizzas. The sort of mozzarella I think you're talking about, that the stuff you buy in bags, the shredded stuff, is made in big blocks, big square blocks, and it's technically not really mozzarella. It's just a very melty cheese. Mozzarella is a pasta filata cheese and made with Buffalo milk, there is a cow's milk version that they sometimes make. But those fresher cheeses, like I said, they're difficult to grate because they've got a high moisture content. There is a low moisture version of mozzarella, which you do see in those bags with shredded cheese and stuff like that. And they shred very easily, so there's no issue whatsoever. So freshly made mozzarella is very hard to shred. If you make it with cow's milk, let me think. The quick mozzarella that I make, I have in the past and only once frozen. I made a really big ball of it, froze it, put it in the freezer, and then I found that was easy. I could grate that when it was still frozen, and then I could sprinkle that on pizza, and it just oozes all over the pizza. So that's one way to do it. So if you really want to give fresh mozzarella a go at being shredded, that's the best way to do it. John says, have you ever found a product that didn't mesh well in the cheese making, in the making process of cheese making? Yeah, so when you're making a real cheese, adding bacon is not a good idea, unless it's a fresh cheese, or the bacon is added after the fact, so after the cheese is matured. You'll find a lot of these bacon flavoured cheeses on the marketplace, and you'll find that they've been processed after the cheese has been matured. So what they do, they shred the cheese after it's matured, and then they add bacon bits or bacon flavouring or whatever, and then they repress the cheese and package it up and ship it off to consumers. Because bacon has sodium nitrate in it as a curing agent, and that reacts poorly with flavours of the cheese. As a fresh cheese, it works fine. So there you go. So like if you're making, say, a cheese ball, John, no problems at all. You make your fresh cream cheese, you add your bacon bits to it, and then you eat it within a couple of days anyway. So, okay. Marie says, Ben, it's so nice that you are working in the family business. Yeah, he's very excited, actually. I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. I suggested to him about a week ago. I said, mate, would you, I'm doing this cheese a day challenge in February. I'm having a piece of cheese. There's going to be a video every single day of the month of February. As well as other, there's some YouTube shorts thrown in there as well. And like I said, the Gavin Reacts number 3 is going to be coming out. So because the Gavin Reacts number 3 is fairly simple footage to edit, that's why he's cutting his teeth on that one. But I'll pass that on, Marie. Thank you very much. Next question is from... it's just more of a statement. The Real Rengie 90 says, good morning from Ventura, California. That's not where the song Ventura Highway comes from, is it? Who's that by? America? Love the vids. I'm a proud crud nerd. Curd nerd? Crud nerd. All right, fair enough. Tony has a question, says, regarding pressing cheese, when adding weight, the pressure applied to the cheese varies on the size of the mold. Yeah, if you're using... Alright, so hang on, here's a follow-up. When adding 50 pounds to 160 millimetre mould, it is 1.6 psi, and the 100 millimetre mould is 4.1 psi. The 100 millimetre mould will be more dense. Do you know what is the recommended pressure to apply rather than the weight? No, because home cheese makers, and this channel's catering to home cheese makers, Tony. So I'm not putting any more science into it than we actually have to. And yeah, I totally understand about the size of the diameter of the mold. The more pressure you have to apply to get 50 pounds of pressure onto the mold. So the bigger the mold, the more pressure you need to add. Pardon me. And the smaller the mold, the less pressure you need to get the same cheese in the same block size. Trying to make it as simple as we can. A lot of cheese makers, home cheese makers, stick to the size recipes that I have. I use the same sort of baskets. So the spring press that I use is, kind of perfect. And it's same as adding direct physical weight onto the cheese, the mould. As far as pressure goes, really, it's up to the individual dairy. If you're talking about commercial cheese, individual dairies will have individual pressures because what they do, they stack their moulds as well. So they stack their moulds on top of each other. A lot of the cheddar moulds are stainless steel, and they stack them on top. They've got a special way of stacking them, and they just put them horizontally in a big press and set whatever pressure they're supposed to set it at for that recipe, and it just compacts it all, down over, say, 24 hours or what have you. But yeah, look, I totally understand what you're getting on to there, but I try and keep it as simple as we can, because the last thing I want to do is turn people away from what is a simple process and what has been for, over 2,000-3,000 years, a very simple process without too much science behind it. So, yeah, there you go. Tony says, again, I have a heat blanket and a fridge connected to an ink bird controller. It's to 3 minutes. 3 minutes? Not sure what that's referring to, but yeah, the controllers are fantastic because they're great for making beer as well. So you can wrap the heat blanket or heat pad, put your brewing container on it, and use the heat section of that Inkbird, and they work really well. John says, are there hard types of cheese that don't take a long time, like 10 months? So, as I mentioned at the start of the show, you can't rush microbiology as far as moulds and lactobacteria go. There are some cheeses that you can cheat, and you can add what's known as lipase, which is a pre-gastric enzyme, and you can add that to the cheese to give it a more piquant flavour, so spicy. So like Parmesan, so if you are not using raw milk and you're using a pasteurised milk, and you want to make a hard Italian cheese that has a robust flavour in a quicker amount of time, then you can add this stuff called lipase, and we sell it in the Little Green Workshops. And what that does, that breaks the fats down into smaller chains quicker than what it would normally if you didn't add it and just had the normal pasteurised milk. Pasteurisation destroys the lipase in cow's milk, but it is more present in goat and sheep's milk naturally. So I hope that asked your question, John. Midwesterner said you can also semi-freeze a cheese that is somewhat soft so that it is stiffer to grate. Indeed, yeah, you can. And I actually tend to, if I'm going to wax a cheese, here's a side tip. If I'm going to wax a cheese, I pop it into the freezer, the whole block, the whole wheel, into the freezer for about 30 minutes to cool the cheese down, because when I wax it then, the wax rapidly cools on the cheese, which is great because it's difficult to handle at the best of times when you're dipping your cheese into the, your little wax bowl. And then when you flip it over and try to grab it again, the good thing is the wax is already firm, so you don't have to worry too much about it. So yeah, that's a good tip. Thanks, Midwesterner. What's the next question? Is from Tony again. When adding a mesophilic culture, do you know the final pH of the milk for cheddar? I have a pH meter, and rather than waiting a specific time, I'll wait until the pH is right. Okay, so there's a really good book, Tony, you probably need to get your hands on. So, book time. Artisan Cheese Making by Giannicus Caldwell. All of the recipes in here have the pHs written in. So, my recipes don't. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it simple. So if you want to get all the good oil, all the good stuff, this is the best that book, one of the best books that you can buy, that will give you all of the info. So the pH of the milk at specific times of the process, and yeah, so it's really good. I'm not going to open it up and read it because it's copyright, so I can't really broadcast the results online. So yeah, go and check out that book, Artisan Cheese Making by Gianniclis Caldwell. Great book, and it really is a good resource for somebody who wants to know a little bit more about the cheese making process, and that'll help. Oops. John says, with flavoured cheese, is there a ratio on products added to the main cheese ingredients? No, mate, it's all by taste. So if you're making something yourself, then, well, it's the first time around is a bit of an experiment, as these things are, but it's all to taste. If you've made a cheese with, say, peppercorns in it and you don't think it's peppery enough when you go to try it, I know you got to wait like 3 months or something, 3 to 6 months to figure it out. Then that's why we take notes. So I have a log. All I do is I write the recipe out by hand and note when I did things, how much I put in there. And then at the end I can go back after I've tasted it and write down or amend the recipe to change the flavour of the cheese as well. That's the best way to do it. So research and development. John says, my favourite cake is cheesecake. Indeed, it is very nice. I have got a lemon cheesecake that I made with French cream cheese on the channel. There's a nice video there somewhere. Shauna says, I'm struggling to find goat's milk in the supermarket. Can I use cow's milk and add a small amount of lipase to give the piquant flavour? Yeah, you can, Shauna. I wouldn't add any more than 1/8 of a teaspoon to 10 litres of milk. It won't have that. It won't have that white colour. Remember that goat's milk doesn't have very much beta carotene in it. So if you're trying to emulate a goat's milk, you won't get the same colour, if that makes sense, because the final cheese will be more yellower and not that white that you see when you have goat or sheep's milk. But the flavour will be there. So if you have a look back at the, there's a video recipe I made. The very first one was making feta with cow's milk. You'll see that I added a little bit of lipase to that to get the right flavour. And then when I made it with goat's milk, which I managed to find back in the day, then yeah, the flavours were very similar. It was goat's milk is a little bit more fattier than what cow's milk is, so the fat content was a little bit off, but the flavour profile was almost identical. So yeah, you could do that, no problems at all. Marie says, with a natto, when you add 12 drops to your recipe, is that 12 drops measured in the tiny measuring spoons or just drops from a pipette or a dropper? Marie, it's actually the same thing. So a drop on one of the mini measuring spoons is the same as a drop from the dropper. So no confusion there. And a drop will always be the same size of a natto. So yeah, whether you use a pipette or one of those, reusable plastic throwaway droppers, then yeah, it'll work just as well. It's the same size. I've measured it. So yeah, go for it. Tony says, thanks for the book suggestion. I'm off to work. Thanks for answering all the questions. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Tony. I hope I answered them to some level of understanding that, I have trouble myself when I first started cheese making. What are all these crazy terms? What do you do? So that's why I've got a pile of books, because there were no cheese channels like mine when I first started, if that makes sense. Anyway. John says, it's been a long time since I've seen you online. What happened with the company that thought you were copying their cheese? Okay, so the cheese that cannot be mentioned, aka Grana Padano, the consortium apologised about a day and a half after I released the first video, after they sent me the cease and desist video. And they sent me an apology and invited me to one of their factories in Italy. So, you know, I haven't taken them up on their offer, you know, COVID and all that sort of stuff. And I probably won't. But yeah, they did apologise. I understood why the eager-beager legal person sent the cease and desist. But all I did was I took the original video down, as you do. And then I remixed it, basically. Took out the words Grana Padano, put in the words cheese and desist cheese, and the video was exactly the same. Took out their logo, just put something over the top of the logo that I used on their on the video, just to satisfy them. And the video has actually got more views now than the first original video. So win-win for me, not so much for them, because so many people, when it hit Reddit, said that they're never going to buy that cheese ever again. So whether they bought it or not before themselves is a different story, but, you know, who knows. But yeah, thanks for asking, John. That's a good one. Jeanette, lovely to see you. Good evening. Now, John also says, as you are a cheese guy, is there a cheese you don't care for? Not really. I like all the cheeses. The only cheese that I don't really like is processed cheese. So, you know, how dare they call cheese that only has like 30% cheese in it, cheese? You know, they add so many fillers and emulsifiers and extra liquids and you name it to make processed cheese. I'm not a fan. I really am not a fan of processed cheese. So there you go. But yeah, thanks for all the great questions, John. They're flowing in today. And congrats on the good news. Yeah, indeed. As far as the Grana Padano saga goes. Midwesterner, you're going to bed. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye-bye. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. Alrighty. We'll do the gallery now. Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes away, so let me just bring that up. Alrighty, so you can't see it yet. That's a bit of a problem. Here we go. Here we go. There's the gallery. Oh goodness me, where's my notes gone? Right. So these photos are sent in by curd nerds like you watching the show, which is fantastic. This one's from Andre, better known as Pirate of the North. Andre says, "Hey Gav, after washing," he was talking about a red rind cheese the other day. "After washing it for an additional week or so, it was time to taste test. It turns out the crumbly sides were not a cheese problem, but a rind problem." That's good. "The cheese was getting a little soft and the rind had been washed away, so it's starting to fall apart. I made this cheese following your Tilsit recipe, but with quarter goat and 3/4 of cow's milk. I washed it in the gin, in an 8% solution of gin I make at my distillery, and the floral notes of the gin really came through on the nose of the rind. I used maple charcoal ash for the centre line, and it's been aged for 3 months start to finish. This is actually the first cheese I made, and it tastes incredible. It has a nice sharp note, especially near the rind. Thanks for your channel. I'm hooked on cheese making now. Andre. Andre, that cheese is amazing. Can we zoom in? Let's have a look. So it's kind of a cross between a Tilsit and a Morbier. If you look at the style, you know, you have an ash line down the middle that's more Morbier than anything else. But, you know, the paste looks nice and smooth. It's starting to get gooey, which is great. And I really do like the Tilsit style cheese because it's a stabilised paste. If you look at, say, Morbier, it's more of a flowier sort of paste, so it's no big deal. But yeah, it's a really nice looking cheese. I'm very impressed with that. For your first cheese, I tell you what, going to a wash rind cheese, that is a step above what a normal beginner would do. So, well done, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for sending that in. The next and last video is from Judy. So this is one of Judy McDonald, who's a long-time watcher of the channel. I don't know if she's here in the chat. But she says, memories from my very first successful brie. What a long way I've come in 2 years. Cheesy cheers, Judy. That looks fantastic. And that was one of your first cheeses. Jude's awesome double brie. Very nice. Batch number 62. So you've made a few cheeses then. Obviously keeping good notes. Well done, Judy. Thank you so much for sending that photo in. Now, if you want to send a photo in, how do you do it? Let me show you. Don't you worry about that. Where is it? Here we go. So you go to the channel page, Gavin Weber. There I am, up there. And you go across to the About tab, just there, and scroll down and go to Details. For business inquiries, view the email address. So this is the email address here. You've got to be logged on and do a capture and say you're not a robot and all that sort of stuff. So robots can't apply. And then you can send through your photos, whether it be troubleshooting photos or what have you, or cheeses that you've made and you want to show the Curd Nerd community. This is the place to do it. I don't look at any other email addresses. This is the one to do. Gee, I didn't realise I'd done over 31 million views on the channel. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so yeah, you do the thing, press the button. But yeah, so thank you everybody who sent in photos today, Andre and Judy. Don't be shy, send them in. I really do love checking out and showing all of the photos and all the creations, cheesy creations that all the Curd Nerds send in to me. So it's great. Alrighty. A question from John says, curious, what's the oldest cheese known to be found document? So there's no real, well, the oldest cheese without any documents, they did actually find some pots of residue, and Jeanette's hit the nail on the hammer, inside one of the tombs. It wasn't in one of the pyramids. It was in one of the tombs in the Valley of Kings. 4,000 years old they dated it back to. So we've been making cheese, well, we as humans have been making cheese from what we know back to 2000 BC, probably even longer than that. There were actually discoveries in the Levant, so the Fertile Crescent, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where the Babylonians, Sumerians probably more so because they were the earlier civilization, also they found pots dating back to about 5,000 years ago, with residue of curds and whey within them. They think they made fresher style cheeses, and they hadn't discovered at that time the addition of rennet to cheese to make longer aging cheeses. So yeah, that's how old things are. Connor says, what is cheese? Good question. It is the controlled rotting of milk. If you want a definition, there you go. Katerina, you stole me thunder. I was quick enough though. Well done. Okay, so I've got some jokes because I'm a funny man. Well, maybe. Alrighty, here we go. Yeah, alright. This is as corny as they come. What is a cheese lover's favourite track and field event? The Curdles. Right. Look, I told you they were cheesy jokes, alright? What did one cheddar cheese say to the other cheddar cheese at the disco? Looking sharp. Goodness me. Righto. So these are the cheesiest dad jokes ever. Right. Here's another one. Goodness me. Right. So this one is from. I know it's not from anybody. It says, "What did Shakespeare say as he was making a cheese platter? To brie or not to brie?" Really? There we go. Crazy. All right. That's even worse. That one. Oh, here we go. Which cheese cries the most? Baby Bell. Goodness me. I'm trying to figure out which button to hit for the sound. Alrighty. Last one. What kind of cheese does Medusa eat? Gorgonzola. Get it? Something about gorgons. Right. There we go. Alright, that were the crappy jokes for the day. Alrighty. And Jeanette says, no, not the jokes. Yeah, indeed. There had to be some. So if anybody's got any more questions, please flood the comments with questions. That would be cool. Nicholas says, is there a cheese that has corn in it? No pun intended. Cheese with corn. None that I know of. No, none that I know of. There are processed cheeses with, what is it? What's it called? Corn syrup. What's that? High fructose corn syrup are in a lot of the US processed cheeses. It's the only thing Cornish about it. But that's about it, really. That's all I can think of. Good question, though. I've never seen a cheese with corn in it. Oh, pardon me. Okay. So, let me just think. One thing that I was going to ask today was... I can't remember what I was going to ask now. I'm kind of lost. Oh, someone throw me a question. Throw me a bone. John says, I've seen cheese today. All were covered in wax. How do they make wine in cheese? So, there's a couple of ways, John. So there's a couple of ways. So the first one is they make the cheese, press it, and then they soak it in a big barrel of wine. Depends on, and it doesn't matter what flavour. It's just really as a colour. That doesn't add too much flavour to it. And they soak it for about 24 hours, and the wine penetrates into the wine a couple of millimetres. That's it, really. The other way is, and I've done it myself, is soak the milled curds. So after you've taken the curds out of the pot and cooked them and all that sort of stuff, break them up into little bits. Those bits then get soaked in wine, whatever kind you want. Obviously, red is better because for visual appearance. And then you then you drain the curds, the wine you can keep for marinade or whatever you want to do. And then you press the curds and you get a nice marbling effect through the cheese. Also, there's a third way, similar to what I was talking about before, is they make the cheese, then they break it up or shred it, and then they soak that cheese, the cheese that's already been matured, in wine with some sugar and other sorts of things just to flavour it up a bit. Even some colorants they put in there as well, and then they repress it again and sell it as a wine dipped sort of cheese. So that's a couple of ways they do it. Chris, thanks Chris for throwing me a bone there. Chris cheese is more of a fermenting process rather than a rotting. Rotting is not controlled. Yeah, true. That is probably correct. Nicholas says, I made my first batch of cheese a few months ago now after binging your channel. Thanks for the great content. Thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate it. Katarina says bland, which is a fermented whey drink. I racked off the mead into another demijohn a couple of months ago. When should I siphon it into the bottles? Look, basically, Katarina, the fermentation stops after about a month. If you racked it and it's cleared up now, I just racked it when it was clear. I siphoned it into bottles once it cleared up. It took quite a while. I think it was another extra 2 to 3 months, roughly, before it cleared, and all the sediment that was left over settles to the bottom, and then I just then I siphon it into bottles, and you can drink it straight away. There's no extra secondary fermentation process in the bottles, even though. When you do leave it longer, the flavours do become more complex. I had a sip of the very original, I think it's called Joe's Ancient Mead. The very first mead that I made with honey. There was no whey in the mead. And I tasted some of that, about a week ago. And I tell you what, the flavours are just out of this world. Really nice. It's starting to get really syrupy, thicky. It's not like cough medicine. That's disgusting. But a beautiful flavour. It's just mellow and smooth, and there's no it's not astringent, but there's no roughness to it at all. It with the bland, and that mead I think I made in over 2 years ago now. 2020, I think I put it down. So fantastic drink. And the bland, I tried that at the same time that I tried the mead, and that's mellowing even more so. So that's becoming, I mentioned it was like a sherry. It's even better now. It's starting to bring on other sorts of flavours and characteristics, but even more like a fortified wine, which is crazy. I never thought that something made with whey would be like that. But yeah, very cool. Martin says, what's the consequences of leaving culture in your milk for too long? The consequences are that the lactose in the cheese gets consumed too quickly, producing a lot of lactic acid in the final cheese. It'll also mean that the final cheese will be more crumbly when it's mature than elastic. So that's a couple of consequences of over-acidifying your milk. Look, if it ever happens to you, if you get called away for, say, a family emergency or whatever, during the ripening period of a cheese, just continue on with the make. You'll get something different. You'll get a cheese. It won't be bad, if you mature it long enough for more than 3 months. Shouldn't be any bitterness or anything like that, and it should be good. So it'll be not as good as, it won't be the same flavour as the cheese that you originally set out to make, but it'll be nice. Anyway, Chris says, have you asked cheese questions to ChatGTP yet? I've had some interesting chats with it, and apparently I should be adding vinegar to my cheddars. I don't think it knows what it's talking about. I know it's an AI, but it's obviously not clever enough, Chris. No, I haven't even gone and had a look. So yeah, maybe when I'm bored sometime, but I don't think that'll be any time soon, Chris. But yeah, very cool. John says, is there any reason cheeses presented the way they are now for a reason, instead of being in a box, etc.? Cost, I think. Cheesemakers, commercial cheesemakers are always trying to cut costs so they can make more profits. So they will normally just vacuum pack most cheeses in plastic and present them that way. The more artisan sort of cheese factories, you'll find that they're all dipped in wax and packaged and got a nice label on them and stuff like that. I rarely have seen cheeses in a box. More so, white mold style are usually packaged in a little wooden round container that you can then cook. Say, for example, you'll see in a few days' time, there's a double brie coming up in the Cheese a Day Challenge, which had a little wooden box, which is absolutely perfect for cooking, making a baked brie. So that little container is there for a reason. As far as other things being in boxes, like I said, plastic packaging, it's the cost, really. But yeah, great question. Thanks, John. Katarina says, bland, not me. No, I kind of understood what you were talking about, so that's cool. Katarina says, do you think over-ripening the culture is how Mersey Valley get their delicate, crumbly texture? If not, what do you think they do differently? No, it's definitely high acidity, so over-ripening the milk is probably how they get that crumbly texture. That's the main... If you want to make a crumbly cheese, then yeah, that is definitely how you do it. High acidity milk. And yeah, so I think that's probably what they do. Probably ask them. A lot of their cheeses are kind of like semi-processed. If you look at the things like, their pickled onion cheese, I think, which is like a Ploughman's kind of. It looks processed. I know you look on the back of the packet. It's not it doesn't really give too much away. It doesn't have ingredients that are processed, but I think they make the cheese and then they put the pickled onions into it later, after the cheese is mature. And I think it would normally have a crumbly texture anyway. Or you could simply overpress it as well, Katarina, and that would then exclude a lot more moisture and make for a more crumblier texture. There you go. And Jeanette was thinking the same thing. There you go. What time is it? We got 15 minutes left, so keep throwing those questions my way. It doesn't matter how obscure you think they are. If it's something you've never thought about before or never thought of asking, yeah, do that. Jeanette says she's not fond of the Ploughman's version. Yeah, me neither. I certainly, the last Cotswold cheese that I made, which had dried onion powder, some dried onions in it, some dried chives, and some dried garlic powder in it, was just over the moon. It wasn't, certainly the Mersey Valley version of the Ploughman's is just too oniony. And it's sour as well. They must put some of the pickled onion juice in it or something. But yeah, I find that it is the Cotswold that I make, the second recipe. There's 2 recipes on the channel. The second one was the better one, and it's Kim's absolute favourite. It was delightful. It really, really was much better than those commercial versions I've seen of what they call a Ploughman's lunch cheese. John says, how does cheese get different levels of flavour, like mild, sharp, etc.? It's all about time, mate. So when you're thinking, say, cheddars, and they have mild, sharp, tasty, vintage, extra vintage, that sort of stuff, they're all ages. So how long the cheese gets aged for is how much the proteins and fats break down even further by the enzymes left behind when the lactic bacteria die off in the cheese. So you'll get a mild cheese, it's say 3 months old. You'll get a semi-mature cheese at about 6 months old. You'll get a mature cheese at 12. Anything past 12 is usually called vintage. So yeah, it's all to do with time. So like I said before, you can't rush microbiology. That's how we get the different sharpnesses of, say, cheddar style cheeses anyway. So Jeanette says, I dehydrate a lot. Okay, so like dehydrated vegetables and stuff. So good to know I can use some of my homegrown produce in my cheeses. Yeah, indeed. So yeah, I certainly did use dried onion flakes, dried chives, And yeah, so there were no issues with those things whatsoever, putting them in my cheese. Just don't put fresh garlic into long-aged cheeses, because there is a chance that you will come across this nasty thing called botulism. So whatever you do, don't long-age a cheese with fresh garlic in it. Dry garlic's fine. It's a lot less, because of the drying process, it's killed off any of the bacteria that are responsible for botulism. So, it's one of the best things you can do. Okay, so Chris says, I tried to make my own cheese by cheddaring a washed curd like chowder. It maybe took 5 hours to drop the pH down to 5.4. I also dry salted it without any brine. Age 9 months, and wow, it was strong. Not so good. Okay, so yeah, so that because Howder is brined. Probably, well, I don't know. The salt may have inhibited something, but you got the pH down to the same as what a cheddar would be, roughly. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, but normally I don't mature my Howders out past 3 months, 12 weeks. So that could be one thing as well. I know that there are 12-month-old Gowders, but yeah, it's interesting experiment, Chris. Any idea why you did it? You think it was really, really strong? It should have been a lot. Been a lot milder, because you washed the curds and got rid of some of the whey, which is the food for the lactobacteria. Anyway, RVS says, hi Gavin, I'm hoping to get started with cheese making, but I am very worried about temperature control, as I only have access to a gas burner. Is it worth investing in a sous vide before starting? Yes. Yeah, 100%. I wish I had a sous vide at the very beginning. I don't think they had anything that was reliable back then, back in 2009. But yes, get a sous vide. You really couldn't do any worse. Temperature control always used to be a bane of my cheese making process, and was such a pain. So let me just bring up a little a thing where I talk about using a sous vide. So here we go. So on the blog, Little Green Cheese, which is my written word blog, if you have difficulty heating milk for cheese making, is the title of the post. Let me just, it's too many ads. Get out of the way. I did a whole YouTube video on it, and also I have a recommendation. So I bought what's it called? Anova is the name of the brand. However, there's this high-pitched whine it produces while it's working, and one of my dogs, Hamish, really doesn't like that noise. So I've had to go. I've had recommendations by others who say this one's silent. So this is the Inkbird version. It's Wi-Fi controlled as well. There's some links down here if you want, which are affiliate links that I get a small commission, but it is a lot better than and cheaper too than the Anova version. So I'll put the link to all that information into the chat, and you can go and check out that blog post that has all the information. So RVS, I hope that helps out. Chris says, it was just a test to see what would happen, so not sure why it went so strong. Yeah, indeed. Like I said, you would think that will be a lot milder because it was a washed curd cheese. You washed the curds before you pressed it. Maybe it was the dry salting. But the salting should have inhibited the lactobacteria, so it shouldn't have made as much acidic. It shouldn't have been as acidic, which would then create a stronger flavour as it aged. So, no, real weird. So I don't know. Chris also goes on to say that agree with what you said, but it seems the culture went a bit crazy, not Tracy. Through it was not sharp, just strong. Oh, okay. Well, I've had a Chris. Funny you should say that. I had a 12-month-old Howder about 6 months back, and yeah, it was strong. I tell you what, the flavour was intense. Um, it wasn't. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't acidic. It just had a really massive Gouda flavour. Like somebody had got all the Goudas in the whole world and compressed them into one cheese. And that was the flavour. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, there you go. So that's what happened. Sean has given the Inkbird sous vide a big thumbs up. So says it's great. Yeah, and from what I know, I think you told me, Shauna, it doesn't have that high-pitched whine that the Anova does. Or maybe it's just my model, the Anova that I have, precision cooker. But yeah, I might have to buy a new one because the poor little bugger, I'm sitting there, I've got the milk in the sink for about... So from when I start at, say, 10 in the morning until I finish and start... draining and stuff, depends on the cheese. It could be, 4 to 5 hours. So poor old Hamish is, upset, panting and all that sort of stuff. He just can't handle the noise. So, yeah, I think it might be time to jump on the bandwagon and switch over to the Inkbird. It was just a matter of cost. I didn't really want to waste that money that I had for the other sous vide. But, yeah, poor old Hamish. Anyway. It is nearly time. It's nearly the end of the show. So thank you one and all for coming along today and asking all those questions. I think John and Tony are the winners today with the amount of questions. So thank you so much for asking those. Without the questions, it wouldn't be a show. I kind of got a little bit hesitant there in the middle there because there was no questions coming in. So yeah, it's because the Curd Nerds asked the questions. Gav answers the question. So if you want to learn how to make cheese the structured way, then you can go to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au and sign up for the Curd Nerd Academy. And yeah, it is a great little course. Thanks, Katerina. I appreciate. And the Curd Nerd light should go off any second. There we go. Katerina has kindly donated $5 Australian via Super Chat at the end of the show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do. So, where I was up to. Oh, yeah, we'll move that along. Thank you, Katerina. Appreciate it again. If you want to get cheese-making supplies, we ship internationally. You can get them over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au, which is the company that Kim and I run, and you can see all these kits and stuff like that. And we sell kits, ingredients, equipment, all your cheese-making needs, basically. And you can get some very cool merch, like this t-shirt, Certified Curd Nerd, of course, over at merch.cheeseman.tv. You can also find my two cheese-making books, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, and Keep Calm and Make More Cheese, over there as well. So that's the place you can get it all. Well, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. Tomorrow there'll be another episode of Cheese a Day Challenge on the channel. And what's the second? Yeah, I think there might even be a short coming out as well, which is quite funny. Or I thought it was funny anyway. Yeah, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. And I'll see you Sunday morning my time for the next live show. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.